I'm creating an energy field for storytelling. Ata ndiu tuetia kara uturunduatia undui kia terete uturunduatia katenderetea. Inviting in the listeners as we each tune into our heart space and expand the field. Ha tui a ndiu turundui tinzindarara utururere undua tarayo tuanda. I'm aligning my central channel and just feeling my connection to the earth and to all that is. May the words, the sounds, the frequencies that come through my voice be of the greatest support and benefit for all. The field's starting to shift. This is my first time doing this podcast solo on a video, so it's a different feeling for me. I've been excited for it all day, really all week. I've been thinking about doing this all week, and even though season 2 is about interviewing others and co-creating in that field, I was just guided to do this particular episode solo. So welcome to the space. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, so I'm just kind of tuning in and feeling into what's happening as people are entering the room. When I say entering the room, you're not literally here physically. I can see you. I can see you coming in and participating and asking questions and getting insights for yourselves. That's kind of my experience. I'm looking at your non-physical bodies. It's like a hologram. It's like I can feel how you look in a way. So I'm just going to give maybe a minute to allow everyone to come in. And it looks like you're sitting down, so that's kind of cool. Maybe you're watching this from home or a space where you can relax. In general, I don't recommend listening to really anything I'm sharing from a car, because inevitably there's going to be some kind of energetic information or transmission coming through, whether it's conscious or unconscious to you. And I just really don't want anyone to get distracted when you need to focus on the road. So there's a few of you turning off the podcast now. I appreciate that. Just letting everybody land. Still a lot of restoration happening, a lot of people in transition, a lot of moving parts. One of the themes that's been coming through this last week is treasure hunt. Putting the puzzle pieces of life together, people looking for certain things and trying to figure out where their places in the universe, in the world, in their lives, what to create next. A lot of people get really hung up on the term finding your purpose, finding your life's purpose, and I'm definitely one of those people who gets hung up on that. But I realize it's not really a linear idea. It's like you come here with a lot of different purposes, and it's not like you necessarily have to accomplish all of them if that's the case. Maybe there's like a hierarchy of importance on like a spiritual level where you're directed and guided to do certain things. And I think there's a lot of things that we're doing as like a purpose that we're actually not consciously aware of, that we're doing in the non-physical as multidimensional beings. So that just wanted to be stated. I brought my favorite drink with me today. This is black tea with cacao and maca powder, honey, and lion's mane powder. So, Oh, what do you want to talk about today? Fire. Interesting. Okay. Maybe we're gonna get elemental today. It's interesting because I spent half of my day today looking for a carpet for this office space because it was like an echo chamber and I really wanted to bring in the water element. So the carpet that I found is like a navy ocean blue, like a dark blue, royal blue kind of color. So I feel like I'm in the ocean right now and I'm wearing blue, and that's been kind of my theme, is mitigating the fire of the year of the fire. And elementally, for me, this is like a particularly fiery year, so I'm always counteracting that with water, but everybody's kind of different from an elemental standpoint as far as how you interact with the elements. But this feels like very physical fire that's coming up in the field. I know there are a number of fires going on, most recently in North Carolina that I've been aware of, but honestly, I don't watch the news, so I couldn't tell you from a news standpoint who's experiencing that. When I'm looking at the planet, it looks like there are a number of fault lines that are bubbling quite a bit, where there are volcanic faults. Why is that coming up? Why is that relevant? I think it's just kind of a reminder of our interaction with this planet, and that, you know, the fire bubbles up within ourselves, and what that can look like is anger, maybe literal like heat rashes or getting flushed, or outbursts of anger, outbursts of emotion. To me, that's fire, and it can also be joy. I'm kind of thinking of from like a Chinese medicine standpoint, the blood is connected to the pericardium in the heart is part of the fire element, and it carries joy, and it can also bubble up and turn into, you know, at an extreme, mania. And then it's at its opposite extreme when there's not enough fire. It can be depression, from like a heart type of depression, where there's just like a lack of any desire to do anything at all, like you're just dragging yourself around. So if that's the case, I'm looking at the people around who are into Ayurveda, the Pitta, that fire aspect. Like, you know what kind of spices to eat when you're feeling kind of that fire depression, especially with these weird cold fronts coming through, after having like a week of warmth and then all of a sudden a week of this extreme opposite. I don't put too much attention into that because every year it seems to swing. And while some people might argue that every year is getting more and more extreme weather-wise, there may be some truth to that, but I think it's really dependent on kind of the microclimate that you're in. I want to bring through more water in this space. For those of you who have been experiencing a lot of fire lately, as I am drinking kind of a fiery and earthy drink, it's a little spicy. I think some sound's going to come through today. I want to bring in some waters that I've been tapping into recently, as far as tuning into resourcing myself with water on this planet. Water carries really important information, mineral information, memories of the land and what's happened on that land. And, you know, including, you know, streams of memory. It's like water sourcing from one place and then carrying that memory all the way through. So it's like by drinking a certain source of water, you're almost drinking like the history of a place, the history of that land. And it's like while our bodies kind of come from the land and go back into the land after we pass, that information is kind of stored within us. That kind of reciprocity, like the plants that we eat, the things that keep us alive that are coming from the earth, they all are resourced from water and within all of that memory as well. So we're all kind of part of this ecosystem. But yeah, recently I've been tuning into water from other planets, some different water planets that I haven't resourced from before that feel different. There was one particular planet, I don't have the names of the planets, I can see them, like I can see maps and where they are relationally, but I don't know what they're called. I'm sure some of you do know what I'm talking about, maybe when I'm tuning into these frequencies, or at least you have a felt memory in your bodies. So if that's the case, it'd be interesting to just like reach out and let me know what you're sensing and feeling. Some of you have that kind of memory and association intact. But I was tuning into a different planet, a different water planet last night, and what I noticed was a mineral from that water that was like right on the tip of my tongue. Kind of from a Chinese medicine standpoint, the tongue is split up into different regions that support different energetics in the body. And the tip of the tongue is actually the zone of the heart. So if you stick your tongue out in the mirror and see if you have a particularly red tip to your tongue, that can mean that there's an excess of fire, particularly in the heart and the pericardium. And what that can look like is more emotional stress. It can be maybe related to relationships. It doesn't have to be. But it's the heart kind of stress, like the palpitations. It can be insomnia. It can be kind of having that heightened fight or flight, or adrenaline rush, like more so at night, particularly when your body is supposed to kind of quiet down and become more yin. So just look at your tongue and see if you can see that redness, if there's like an excess redness or a bright red. But yeah, so I was tuning into this water planet, and I could taste this very particular mineral that I've never tasted here, but just right on the tip of my tongue. And there was a part of me that intuitively knew that as I was drinking water, because I had interfaced with this energy, that the water was nourishing my body in a different way. And I don't know why it was coming through that way, but it's curious, and I can feel that planet right now. So I think in this podcast, I'm going to bring through some water as a nourishing resource, and the frequencies of these particular places that may be supportive to access their water sources from a frequency standpoint. And just take a breath. And let yourself just take one deep inhalation through your nose and exhale, sigh through your mouth. This frequency is really going to the bones. So if you stand up and you feel your bones crack or crick, there's this feeling of kind of new nourishment or fluid going to the synovial fluid and the, that space between the tendons and the ligaments. I'm just going to take some breaths for a moment and I just take in the space and feel the frequencies. The water of the feminine is entering the planet in a new way at this time. I've been seeing people wake up and acknowledge feminine aspects within themselves that were maybe previously hidden or lost. I'm just listening. There's some like little baby birds or something outside my window that are tweeting. I had an extraordinary experience last fall that I want to share with you. I think I'm just clearing some energy right now and just kind of thinking about it and tuning into that space. So people talk about the term the divine feminine, the divine masculine. And I mean, can you make a distinction between something that's divine and not divine? Is something I've really wondered. But I do think that certain aspects of creation have a drop down. Like for instance, love. Love may have, say, a universal expression or feeling, and whether or not any of us have experienced it before, I don't know. But it's like, as that frequency of expression, whatever it is made of or is, as a consciousness or as a stream of being, it's like as if as we move down into physical density, it turns into a different, unique expression for everyone. And it's as if each person has their own connection to that aspect of love that they source from within that drop down. And there's like a refining that happens throughout life where there may be a feeling or an expression of a distortion of that aspect or the opposite of love in some way. And then through a spiritual maturing and through the life experience and through the path that you take, you get to discover what that love feels like for yourself. And it's still just one expression of something that's so much bigger and has, in my idea, like just this ultimate unifying existence to it that's a part of all of us, that connects and weaves all things. And so I want to talk about the feminine and what that means to me. Because kind of an association with the feminine, maybe when I was younger, that was in relationship to cultural ideas of what is feminine and what is masculine, and all those different qualities that are regarded as feminine or masculine. And then that changes from culture to culture, from place to place. And so it's that type of feminine is like a relative feminine, relatively, to someone else's definition. And I would say that's more of a superficial or materialistic idea of what that means. And throughout my healing journey and throughout my studies of Chinese medicine and different philosophies of healing and how energy works, I kind of tuned into feminine as more of like a quality, connecting it to yin. And that, that has its own limitations, but it's like as a way of being, it would feel in relationship to the yang, because it's still relative. It would feel like something that's softer or receptive or has an emptiness. But even the word emptiness, that emptiness includes all potential and all possibility, like the void. To me, that's a feminine quality, is that pure potential and that receptivity. And, it's even coming through my voice a little bit, I'm noticing, at least my aspect of the feminine and what that's like. I've spent a lot of my life being very much masculine in my way of being, and really kind of bursting outward and expressing, and angry many times and frustrated, and not that the masculine is that. I mean, that's the unhealthy masculine, I suppose. So like I've gone through my own evolution, and I'm still evolving, of course, through what does it mean to have a healthy balance of a feminine and masculine aspect within myself. And then, of course, there's a third field that weaves and connects all of it. That's like an umbrella. So this feminine, from the yin standpoint, is nourishing, is soft, is connected to the ocean, to the moon, to the fluids of the body, to the cyclic nature of being, as far as a resource, a way of resourcing within a cycle and allowing growth. And then at a certain point, the yang opens and blossoms and creates action and movements. And, it's like in every microcosm and every macrocosm, there's this relative dance between the yin and the yang, the feminine, the masculine. And then there's something else that happens. For me, moving out of the perspective of that kind of definition of what is femininity, and then relating it to how do I experience the feminine within my body, within my life experience. And when I ask myself that, it's the time that I allow myself to rest. And that hasn't been like a big part of my life until like relatively recently, out of kind of necessity. But the ability to listen and the ability to acknowledge the shift and the alchemy between events of movements and learning and experience in life. I kind of consider those to be masculine or yang experiences. So where the integration happens, where the actual shift or the alchemy or the transformation happens, is within the feminine aspect. But the shift itself, you could say, is masculine, but it can't shift without the feminine. They're completely relative to each other. So it is really a mystery when you tune into it. But I think more than anything, it's like tuning into it as a physical, a visceral, and a spiritual experience. Last fall, I was going through some major transitions in my life. After experiencing my former partner passing and going into shock and having severe nervous system dysregulation, every single day was like a roller coaster ride. And I was like holding onto a thread to try to resource myself and have a sense of stability. And I don't know how this led to what I had experienced, because every day was moving so fast, and I don't even remember like even a fraction of what happened last fall because it was so much energetically. But there was one day where all I had in me was to go downtown and get a piece of pizza. And I went to a pizza shop on the mall here in Charlottesville, and I was waiting for my slice of pizza, and I found a nice spot to eat it at the window so I could people watch. And all of a sudden, I started feeling this like melting sensation that started at my toes. And it wasn't numbness, and it was like as if somebody had dunked me in like a bath of warm water with salt that was just like dissolving every little bit of tension in my body. And it was like being held by a mother, but not like a biological mother. It felt like the mother. Like it felt like the most divine expression of the feminine or the mother that I could ever fathom or imagine. And it just melted all the way up my body. And I was just glowing in this feeling of being held, and also kind of laughing at myself because I'm eating a piece of pizza and there's just like probably like goofy Latin music or something on in this pizza shop, and I'm just having this like ultra experience. That's how I feel. That's how I feel a lot of days. Like when I have these, not that particular experience was exceptional, but I have a lot of really strange experiences on the regular, and I laugh at myself because I'm like in public and I'm like, nobody has any idea. But I feel like you guys know what I'm talking about. Like when you go through these spiritual transitions, or when you have these kind of awakening moments, and it's like you could be doing something so regular and so like you just anything you would do any day, and then all of a sudden something clicks and something changes, and there's nothing that you can even measure leading up to it or triggering it. It just happens. It feels like there are more of those types of events happening for people on this planet right now. Have you had any experiences like that? Just tuning in. Yeah. A lot of psychic abilities waking up in people, certainly. A lot of interesting dreams that people are having. What is your relationship to the feminine? And what is your relationship to water? Are those things related? I think with that, I'm going to close this field. I can see you all kind of entering the stream and swimming out. This was a good talk. If there's any takeaway from this experience, I just want you to notice what's happening in your heart right now. And as if there were a very special drop of water that exists there now that maybe didn't exist there before. And just notice it. Thanks for joining me today. Till next time.